The rain hammered against the windshield as Britt Westbourne gripped the steering wheel with trembling hands. Beside her, Rocco Falconeri sat silently, staring into the darkness ahead. The teenager had barely spoken for the last 20 minutes. They were running. Running from a nightmare that had consumed Port Charles. Cullum's organization had been dismantled, or so everyone believed, but remnants of the criminal network remained, and now they wanted revenge. Unfortunately, Britt and Rocco were their targets. "We're almost there," Britt said, trying to sound confident. Rocco glanced at her. "Are we really safe?" Before Britt could answer, headlights suddenly appeared behind them. Fast, too fast, a black SUV. Britt's heart nearly stopped. No. The vehicle accelerated. Rocco turned pale. "They found us." The SUV slammed into the rear bumper. The impact shook the entire car. Rocco cried out. Britt fought to maintain control. Another hit, harder this time. The car swerved dangerously toward the edge of the mountain road. "Hold on!" The SUV driver wasn't trying to stop them. He was trying to kill them. Another collision sent sparks flying. Britt's hands tightened around the wheel. She knew they wouldn't survive much longer. Behind them, the attackers continued their relentless pursuit. Then a chilling voice echoed through Britt's phone. The call had somehow connected automatically through the car's system. "End of the road, Dr. Westbourne." Britt froze. She recognized the voice, a former lieutenant from Cullum's organization, a man everyone thought had disappeared months ago. "You should have stayed out of this." The line disconnected. Another violent crash rocked the vehicle. Rocco looked terrified. "Britt?" Everything happened at once. The car spun. Tires screamed, metal twisted, the guardrail shattered, and suddenly they were falling. The vehicle plunged down the steep embankment. Glass exploded. Steel crumpled. The world became chaos. When the wreck finally stopped, silence filled the air. Blood trickled down Britt's forehead. Her vision blurred. Beside her, Rocco wasn't moving. "No!" She reached for him. "Rocco!" A weak groan escaped his lips. Relief washed over her. He was alive. But they were trapped. The doors wouldn't open. Smoke drifted from the engine compartment. Then Britt heard voices above. The attackers. They were coming down the hill to finish the job. Fear gripped her chest. This was it. No escape, no rescue, no miracle. Footsteps approached. One man appeared through the shattered windshield. A gun in his hand. His smile was cold. "Goodbye, doctor." Britt closed her eyes. Rocco braced for death. A gunshot exploded through the darkness. But it wasn't theirs. The attacker suddenly collapsed backward. Dead. Britt's eyes flew open. "What?" Another gunshot rang out. A second attacker fell, then a third. The remaining men scattered in panic. Someone was hunting them. Someone incredibly skilled. The kind of fighter who never missed. A shadow emerged from the trees. Tall, broad-shouldered, moving with deadly precision. Britt's breathing stopped. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. The figure stepped into the light. Rocco stared in disbelief. No way. The man lowered his weapon. His familiar blue eyes met theirs. Jason Morgan. For a moment nobody spoke, because Jason Morgan was supposed to be dead. Britt's mind couldn't process what she was seeing. She remembered the reports, the memorials, the grief, the certainty. Jason was gone. Yet here he stood, alive, watching over them, like a ghost returning from the grave. "Jason?" Britt whispered. Jason approached the wreckage. "I've got you." Rocco's jaw dropped. "You're alive." A rare smile touched Jason's face. "Looks that way." The teenager looked completely stunned. For months, Jason's death had been accepted as fact. Now he was standing in front of them as if nothing had happened. But there was no time for explanations. The SUV from above suddenly roared down the hill. Reinforcements. At least 6 armed men. Jason's expression hardened instantly. "Stay down." The first attacker fired. Jason moved with astonishing speed. 3 shots. 3 men fell. The remaining gunmen spread out. Bullets tore through the night. Jason used the wrecked vehicle as cover while returning fire. Rocco watched in awe. It was like witnessing a legend come to life. Every movement was precise, every shot calculated. Within seconds, the balance of power shifted completely. The attackers realized they weren't facing an ordinary opponent. They were facing Jason Morgan, and that meant they were already losing. One man tried flanking from the left. Jason anticipated it. A single shot dropped him instantly. Another attacker charged. Jason disarmed him with brutal efficiency. The fight ended moments later. Silence returned. The threat was gone. Jason immediately turned his attention back to Britt and Rocco. "We need to move." Britt finally found her voice. "How are you alive?" Jason hesitated. For a brief moment, pain crossed his face. "It's complicated." Rocco laughed nervously. "Complicated?" Jason nodded. "Very." Using specialized tools from his backpack, Jason began cutting through the twisted metal. Minutes later, he pulled Rocco free. Then Britt. The doctor nearly collapsed. Jason caught her before she hit the ground. Their eyes met. Years of history flashed between them. Friendship, trust, heartbreak, loss, and now this impossible reunion. For a moment neither spoke, then Britt smiled through tears. "I thought I'd never see you again." Jason swallowed hard. So did I. But unknown to them, danger remained. Far away in Port Charles, someone watched surveillance footage from the attack. The mysterious observer leaned forward, eyes widening. The screen clearly showed Jason, alive. The observer's face turned pale. "That's impossible." A phone was immediately picked up. Orders were issued. Emergency plans activated. Because if Jason Morgan had returned from the dead, everything was about to change. Everything. Back at the safe house, Britt finally received answers. Jason explained how he had survived. After the explosion that supposedly killed him, he had been secretly rescued by operatives connected to an international intelligence network. Severely injured and suffering memory complications, he had spent months recovering in isolation. The world believed he was dead. For strategic reasons, the network allowed the illusion to continue. Until recently, when Jason learned that enemies connected to Cullum had targeted Rocco and Britt. The moment he discovered their names, he knew he couldn't stay hidden. He came home, not for revenge, not for power, but to save people he cared about. Unfortunately, his return created new problems. Power players across Port Charles would soon learn the truth. Sunny, Carly, Anna, Dante, everyone. And some would celebrate. Others would panic. Because Jason's resurrection threatened secrets that were never supposed to see daylight. As dawn approached, Rocco finally fell asleep, exhausted, safe, alive. Jason stood near the window watching the sunrise. Britt joined him. "You risked everything." Jason remained silent. "Why?" For several seconds he didn't answer. Then he looked at her. "Because some people are worth coming back for." Britt felt tears forming again. The emotion in Jason's voice was unmistakable. He wasn't talking only about Rocco. He was talking about her. Before either could say another word, Jason's phone buzzed. A secure message appeared. His expression darkened instantly. "What is it?" Britt asked. Jason slowly lowered the device. "They found us." Outside, engines roared. Multiple vehicles, approaching fast. An army was coming, and this time the enemy wasn't interested in capturing anyone. They wanted Jason Morgan dead. Again, to be continued.